Do you want to talk a little bit about the piece that we wrote for Juniper?
I can see people wondering, like, what is this ancient woman in, halfway around the world talking to this extremely young person in New Zealand? What could they possibly have in common when they have different areas of expertise? And yet that is sort of the whole thing we're trying to explode. And if you can break through your biases that age or geography or disability could be this obstacle, age in particular is just, it's just not the obstacle to having interests in common that people think that it is. I'm curious about your take.
On a regular basis, if I'm hanging out with friends at university, college or whatever, who aren't disabled, I almost would never talk about my disability because it's not our commonality. And I feel like when you have friends, you probably try and talk more about what makes you the same rather than what makes you different.
Aging is often seen as a disaster, as a personal misfortune, and certainly disability is a terrible personal tragedy.
Yes.
And the huge act of imagination, reimagination, or imagination outside of that narrative is to totally reject that idea.
I've got this brilliant friend who was putting together a pitch the other day and reminded me of this quote, which was that, if we only show people one story, that's what they will become, or that's what they will think. So a large reason why they think that disability is so awful or terrible or whatever for their lives is because that's the narrative that's given the most power in the space.
One of the most sort of eye-opening things, and you're always embarrassed by what you didn't know, but was learning through, I've followed now a lot of people who are active in disability rights on Twitter, was people saying, gee, isn't it amazing how all the adaptations we've been asking for from employers so that we could work remotely for decades magically became doable once the health of the general public was at risk. And clearly it's up to we non-disabled people to advocate that those changes stay permanent. Knowing that parts of your body are likely to work less well, wouldn't you think it would be in your enlightened self-interest, even if no one you know is disabled, to make these things available to as many people as possible, to lobby for these changes becoming permanent?